Around Cleveland and in motion, Les's next guest needs little in the way of introductions. An inspiration for many people living with PD, Jimmy Choi is proof that hard work pays off in this third installment of Mad Dash Unabashed.
Hi, welcome back. Special guest time here. We've got Jimmy Choi here, an American Ninja Warrior. How in the heck do you become an American Ninja Warrior?
It's funny because it all began as a dare from my daughter. And you know, our kids has a lot of influence in our lives, and I always want her to see her dad as strong and never give up. So when she dared me to apply for the show and to try out, I can't say no. Even though I did for the first 3 years, she tried to convince me to go. I keep giving her all the excuses in the book, but she never stopped. So I said, let's do it.
What turned it over? What made the magic happen?
So my daughter, my daughter has been a fan for the show, you know, for quite a few years before she even asked me to participate. And as far as she knows, I mean, she's only 13 years old, and I've been living with Parkinson's now for 17 years. So she just never known me as a person without Parkinson's. But as far as she can remember, I've always been an active guy running marathons and things like that. So to her, I've always been Superman. And for me to repeatedly tell her that I can't do certain things, and she refusing, the stubborn person that she is, she takes after my wife and myself. She refuses to give up, and you know, that was one of the driving forces for me. Is she's not going to give up. Why should I, right? So why not try for it? Try something hard. Try something different.
Good for her. Good for you on that. I understand there's a rumor out there that you were trying to set a new world's record. What the burpee?
Yeah, so it is a world record for a number of chest to ground hand release burpees, and the current record in 1 minute, and the current record stands at 28. And actually, let me correct that, because I now hold the current record. On this past Saturday, on the 8th of August, I was able to complete the challenge, and I was able to do 31 chest to ground hands release burpees in 1 minute.
Wow. Tell me what about our what we have here in Cleveland and in motion, and what other areas you've seen around the country that help people with Parkinson's.
Well, one of the things that I've always felt, you know, since when I was diagnosed back in 2003, one of the things that was not there for me was resources. As a young onset, as a person with young onset, you know, diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's, I just didn't have the resources. I didn't have people telling me that you have to exercise. I didn't have people telling me how to exercise. I didn't have people giving me the support to cheer me on and to really have that social feeling of, you know, friends, camaraderie, all that good stuff where it helps you move, you know, get to that next level of fitness, for me at least. And it really isn't just about fitness. It's about friendships. It's about you know, various different types of activities that you can take on, because fitness, or certain types of fitness, may not be everybody's cup of tea. One person might love running and another person absolutely hates it, right? So you need to have variety. So a program like InMotion made that available. And when I met you know, when I met Karen, and of course everybody at InMotion, I knew that this was the right program for people with Parkinson's. And I'm start seeing a lot of this pop up across the nation, and I'm always an advocate for it, because for me, exercise, fitness, positive mindset, and really the people that I surround myself with have allowed me to turn myself around from a place of darkness, living with Parkinson's, darkness, depression, and inactivity, to where I am today. You know, I can call myself a world record holder as a person with Parkinson's, and none of that is possible without people in programs like InMotion. And that's why I support it so much.
I don't know how different your experience was from mine, but I hear it from so many people. And I was diagnosed a little over 3 years ago, and it's the same thing. I didn't know anything about the disease. I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know anything about the disease. You know, you hear about other diseases and symptoms, and so many people suffering and all, and I didn't know a thing. And everything I was learning was all new and not as scary as I would have thought it was. So I don't know how it was with you. My doctor, I had a back problem, and I walked in for an appointment with my back, and he said, "Well, how long have you had Parkinson's?" I said, "I don't have." He says, "Well, let's see," and we saw, and we did. But you know, many other diseases I probably would have known on sight.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, for me, it, for me, it was just initial 8 years of darkness. I ignored it. I just like you mentioned, I knew nothing about Parkinson's. I thought it was a disease for people that are older than I. Remember, I was diagnosed when I was 27 years old.
Sure.
So I had
And you knew about
absolutely,
Michael J. Fox.
I knew about Michael J. Fox, and really that was the only thing I knew about Parkinson's was that Michael had it. Um, Other than that, I knew nothing else. They handed me a pamphlet the day that I was diagnosed. I never opened it. I brought it home. I stuck it in the drawer, and it sat there for 8 years. So that first 8 years, I did absolutely nothing because the way that I was diagnosed, it all started when I bought life insurance. Actually, I just gotten married. My dad says go buy life insurance when you're starting a family, and I did. And it was actually the nurse that brought my attention to Parkinson's, because just like you walking in for a back problem, they say, well, they asked you how long have you had Parkinson's. This nurse that did my insurance physical worked in a neurologist's office as her day job and does insurance physicals on the side. She noticed things about me that she sees every day. So she's actually the one that got me to talk to my doctor about the road to getting diagnosed. Otherwise, I would have just written everything off to everyday life, right? The stiffness could have been because I played golf and walked 18 holes, right? I'm gonna be sore and stiff. The twitches. I worked in high tech, and I was in a very high stress job, and twitches and things like that, little spasms here and there. It comes with stress, right? So all these things that can be explained with everyday life. Never even thought about Parkinson's, and really still, even after I was told, I spent that first 8 years in complete denial, because when I was diagnosed, the confirmation was through positive reaction to levodopa carbidopa. And so I just took the pill. I took the pill for the next 8 years thinking things would go away, and I ignored it. And that's not how it works, because over that next 8 years, I continued to progress. I became really inactive. I went from a active, fit 20, 25, 26-year-old to a overweight, inactive 34-year-old at that time. So I would say I was 240, 250 pounds at one point, and I walked with a cane. So, and so just going back to how much I really knew about Parkinson's, I still knew nothing after 8 years, just because I ignored it. I didn't want anything to do with it. And then all that progression piled up, and it started to weigh me down. I'm less social with my friends. I'm angry around my family. And, when people would ask me about, hey, what's wrong? I'd always dance around it. And that created tension between me and my family members and friends. And just depression started setting in. So, after 8 years, my wake up moment was carrying my son down the stairs. I figured, I'll leave my cane on top of the stairs because I've got the railing to help me. No, it didn't. The two of us went tumbling down the entire flight, and I knew at that moment that I was only 34 years old. I was becoming a danger to my family, to my kids. I was becoming a burden to my wife, and something had to change.
Well, again, it's everybody has the same story, but different.
Yeah.
I have a few more years on top of you, but other than that, what you're telling, you and I could sit down at a table and write something down and compare it at the end, and mine's the same story as yours is. So there are people out there that don't know, they're carrying this burden around, they don't know what to do, and what you're doing, well, what In Motion is doing, and other resources like that, what they're doing is they're looking for people like you, not to do the handiwork, not to work every day and night, but to spread the word of how important it is. And I don't want to say simple, but I guess I would say it's easier than some other things. I can tell you that.
Yeah. And I always say that for every one person living with Parkinson's that's willing to speak out, we're probably speaking for at least 100 others that are sitting at home, right? So it's important for me to take this role that I found and to continue spreading awareness and using any platform that I possibly can. NBC put me on television, and I use that to try to spread awareness. um, you know the it's just various different opportunities, getting to speak around the country at different events, spreading information, just getting the more stigma that we remove from Parkinson's, the better it is for our community. And just to be quite honest, unfortunately, because people don't die from Parkinson's, it becomes a disease that, I don't want to use the term as harsh as no one cares about, but um, there's no sense of urgency. So we need to help. We need to do that for ourselves. We need to put that sense of urgency out there. One other thing that I've learned along the years is that, you know what, it's okay to ask for help too, right? Um, whatever is available to help your journey, use it. You know, don't be. I'm a stubborn guy, so a lot of times I refuse help, thinking that I can do certain things. But there's absolutely no shame in asking my wife to help me with my shoes, or my kids to help me get up off the ground. Um, just we just be safe and be smart.
Jim, when you say get off the ground, how many times do you fall? How often do you
Oh,
fall?
I fall all the time. It's one of the reasons why I had to use a cane, back in 2010. Um, I fall less often now, but I still do. I do have my freezing moments. I do also have moments where rigidity kicks in pretty bad, and dystonia kicks in my feet when I'm running, and I'll take a stumble. Um, so going back to this burpee world record, um, and I like to tell the story because I looked at a burpee 2 years ago. I started doing a lot of burpees simply because I looked at it as a way to help me learn how to fall and then get back up, right? Because that's what a burpee is. You're falling to the ground,
Sure.
and then you're building strength and building muscle to get back up. So I looked at a burpee as a way to train myself to control my fall, should I fall, and safely get back up wherever it is, whatever situation I'm in. And what started out as a desire to learn a skill for survival, you know, just blossomed into a world record. So, I like to use that example to tell people that, things that things that you do on a daily, that you do in the gym, that you do, in the Rocksteady boxing program, or in a in motion boxing program, or a physical therapy boxing program. Those things, you got to look at those things like how can I use this in my everyday life? And that's when you really get the most out of it.
So what's the goal? Just keep on doing what you're doing and having great success, or wait to
Well,
see what comes?
I like to prepare my body for the future, right? I know I've got to live with Parkinson's for a very long, for a long time, for the rest of my life, possibly. Hopefully not, but certainly I have to prepare myself for that. So, running 100 miles a week, and cycling another 150 miles a week on top of all the strength training and all, that's not going to be good for my body in the long run. So I constantly have to make adjustments. So I'm always looking at what's best for me and what's best for my family as I continue to live with the disease. I want to make sure that I'm preparing my body to handle the future, but at the same time, I'm not going to shut it down, so that I can go back into a spot where I've been before. Again, that period of depression and darkness, and inactivity that I just don't want to be. So, I'll continue to make adjustments as life brings whatever to me, and never stop.
Well, hang in there, stay safe. Thank your daughter every day for what she's done.
Absolutely do. I'm so proud of her, and also my son, who fights every day in various different ways for me and my entire family, and of course my friends at Emotion, my friends around the Parkinson's community to push me along. I always say inspiration is a two-way street. If I'm inspiring somebody, in return they're doing the same for me, because I know I'm making a difference. That means I should keep doing more of what I've been doing and keep going at it.
Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us. Great stuff.
Thank you, Les.